I pulled up to my mom's place in Maplewood right as the sun was going down, the kind of early winter dark that makes every string light look warmer than it really is. Her little front porch was lit up like a postcard, red bough on the door, fake pine garland, one of those plastic reindeer that always leans a little to the left. My son, Noah, pressed his face to the car window and said, "It looks nice," like he was trying to convince himself as much as me. Inside, the house smelled like cinnamon and roasted turkey, and the living room was loud in that way where people aren't actually happy, just performing it. My sister, Rachel, was already there with her kids, and they came flying toward the tree like it belonged to them personally. My mom laughed and told them, "Careful, sweetie," in that soft voice she saves for them. When Noah stepped in behind me, he didn't get a "hi," didn't get a "how are you," just a quick glance and a "coats go in the hall," like he was a delivery box. I tried to shake it off. I always tried. I'd gotten good at pretending I didn't notice the pauses in conversations when I walked into a room, or how my mom's smile didn't fully reach her eyes when she looked at me. I helped Noah take off his scarf, told him to say hello, and he did, polite as always, even when the response came out thin and distracted. My Aunt Denise gave him a quick pat on the head like she was checking a dog at the shelter, then turned back to whatever story Rachel was telling. Dinner was set up in the dining room the way it always was, nice plates, cloth napkins, the good silverware that only comes out when there's an audience. Noah sat beside me, swinging his legs because his feet still didn't touch the floor. Rachel's kids were across from us, loud and comfortable, talking over each other, grabbing rolls, calling out for gravy like it was a restaurant and my mom was the waiter. Every time one of them held up an empty plate, my mom popped up like a spring. "You want more mashed potatoes, honey? Another piece of turkey? Of course you can have more stuffing." She kept calling them my babies, my loves, and when they made a mess, she laughed like it was adorable. Noah asked once, quietly, "Can I have some more?" And my mom said, "There's plenty on the table," without even turning her head, like that counted as being served. I kept telling myself it was just holiday chaos. People get stressed. People get weird. It's one night. Noah leaned toward me and whispered, "Mom, am I doing something wrong?" And my stomach dropped because he'd learned to ask that question way too early. I told him, "No, buddy. You're perfect," and I meant it, but it didn't fix the way his shoulders stayed tight like he was bracing for something. After dinner, everyone migrated to the kitchen for dessert. My mom had made her famous pecan pie and a tray of brownies, plus a big bowl of vanilla ice cream. Rachel's kids were already hovering like little sharks. My mom cut slices and slid them onto plates, thick and generous, then handed them out with that bright, proud smile. "I made extra," she said, looking straight at Rachel like it was a gift between them. Noah waited until the first wave passed, then tugged my sleeve. "Is there any left?" he asked, soft enough that only I should have heard. But my mom did hear. She turned around, knife still in her hand, and she looked at him like he'd asked for her wallet. "Oh," she said, loud. Not cruel sounding, not yelling, just loud enough for the whole room to catch it. "There isn't any left for you, honey. This is for family." The kitchen went quiet in that instant, like someone had turned down the volume on the whole house. Rachel's kids were chewing, ice cream dripping down their spoons. My Aunt Denise stared at the counter. My uncle cleared his throat and suddenly found the fridge interesting. Nobody said, "What do you mean?" Nobody laughed like it was a joke. Nobody corrected her. Noah's face changed fast. He didn't cry. That was the part that made me feel sick. He just blinked a few times and nodded like he understood the rules, like he'd been expecting them. He leaned closer to me and whispered, "It's okay," like he was protecting me from being upset. I looked at my mom, waiting for her to soften, to backtrack, to act like she didn't mean it. But her expression stayed flat, almost relieved, like she'd finally said something she'd been holding in for a long time. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't forgetting dessert. This was a message, delivered in front of everyone, with no fear of consequences. I didn't argue. I didn't do the whole thing where I try to explain basic decency to grown adults. I'd done that too many times in my life, and it never changed anything. My chest felt tight, but my mind got weirdly calm, like something snapped into place and suddenly everything made sense. Noah kept his eyes down, staring at the edge of the kitchen rug. I could tell he was working hard to be easy, to not make it worse, to not give them a reason to say he was dramatic or needy. And I hated that. I hated that my sweet kid had learned to shrink himself in my own mother's house. I put my hand on his back and said, "Okay, buddy." My voice came out normal, which almost scared me. I started walking toward the hallway like we were leaving because it was late and we had a long drive, like nothing happened. The normalness of it felt like a shield. In the hall, I reached for his coat and shook it out. Noah held his arms out without being asked. That alone made my throat burn. Kids shouldn't be that practiced at leaving quietly. I zipped him up slowly, smoothed his scarf, fixed the little hat that always slid to one side. My hands were steady even though my heart was pounding. Behind us, the kitchen noise started again. Someone laughed. Someone asked for more ice cream. My mom didn't follow. Rachel didn't come over. Nobody called out, "Where are you going?" like they cared. It was like our exit was part of the evening schedule. I heard my mom's voice float down the hall. "Don't forget your leftovers," she said, not to me, just into the air. Like that was what mattered. Like she'd done her part. Noah looked up at me, and his eyes were shiny but controlled. "Are we leaving because of me?" he asked. I crouched down so we were eye level. "No," I said, and I made sure my voice didn't shake. "We're leaving because of them." He swallowed hard and nodded, like he was filing that away for later, like it would help him make sense of things when he was older. We walked to the front door. The living room was full of people pretending to be cozy. The Christmas tree lights blinked like nothing was wrong. Rachel's husband was on the couch with a beer, laughing at some joke on TV. My aunt waved at me without standing up. "Drive safe," she said, like I was heading home from a normal dinner. My mom finally appeared near the doorway, but she didn't step close. She stood a few feet away, arms crossed, her face set in that "you're being dramatic" expression she's worn my whole life. "You're really going to leave over dessert?" she asked, and she kept her voice light, almost amused, like she was talking to an emotional teenager. I looked at her and realized she truly believed that's what this was about. That the problem was pie. Not humiliation. Not exclusion. Not the way she'd looked at my child and decided, out loud, that he wasn't hers. I didn't answer. D like stability from the outside. "What account?" I asked. "The family savings," my mom said, like it was obvious. "The money we put aside. The one under Rachel's name. He had access. He took it all. And now he's gone. Rachel can't reach him." I almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. It was the kind of moment where you realize the world is exactly as unfair as you thought it was, and you were right for leaving. "How much?" I asked. My mom hesitated. "It doesn't matter." "It matters," I said. 57,000, Rachel blurted out in the background, her voice cracking. "He took everything. And the mortgage is due. And the credit cards." My mom cut in fast. "And there's more. He used your name." That hit me like a cold slap. "What?" "He opened something," my mom said, trying to sound calm, like she wasn't dropping a bomb. "A line of credit. A card. I don't know. The bank called. They said your information was on it. My knees went weak for a second. I sat down at the table, slow. Why would my name be on anything for Rachel? Silence. Then my mom said, because you're the responsible one. Rachel said you wouldn't mind. It was just to help them get approved. I stared at the table so hard my vision blurred. You all did that without telling me. Rachel started sobbing louder. I was going to tell you. No, I said, and my voice came out low. You weren't. My mom jumped back into attack mode. This is not the time for you to be dramatic, okay? We need you to come here. You work with numbers. You're good with paperwork. We need you to fix this. I thought about the way she looked at Noah. The way she decided he wasn't family when it cost her a slice of pie. And now that it cost her money, suddenly I was family again. Suddenly my skills mattered. Suddenly I was useful. I swallowed and said, I'm not coming. My mom's voice went sharp. Excuse me. You said dessert was for family only, I said, calm. So fix it with family. Rachel screamed something in the background, like I'd stabbed her. You're evil. I didn't yell back. I didn't cry. I just said, don't call me again unless it's to apologize to my son. Then I hung up. I sat there for a long minute, staring at my phone like it was a snake. Noah walked in and looked at my face. Is something wrong? He asked. I pulled him close and kissed the top of his head. No, I told him. Something's finally right. For the first few days after that call, my body kept waiting for the crash. Like I'd stepped off a moving train and my brain didn't trust that the ground was really still. I'd wake up, check my phone, and see missed calls. Not 33 anymore, but enough to remind me they weren't done. They tried different tactics. My mom left voicemails that sounded sad instead of angry. I don't recognize you, she said once, like I was the problem, like setting a boundary turned me into a stranger. Rachel sent messages that swung wildly between begging and blaming. Please, I'm your sister, followed by, you always hated me anyway. I didn't respond. I focused on what was in front of me. Noah had school. I had work. Our tiny apartment in South Jersey wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Nobody walked in and criticized the dishes in the sink. Nobody commented on my weight. Nobody made Noah feel like he was in the way. One night, Noah asked if we were going back to Grandma's for New Year's. He asked casually, like he was testing the weather. I turned off the TV and sat with him on the couch. No, I said. Not this year. He nodded and stared at his hands. Did I do something bad? He asked again, like the question was stuck in his throat and he needed to keep checking. My chest tightened. I took his hands in mine, warm and small. Noah, listen to me, I said. You didn't do anything wrong. You're not too loud. You're not too quiet. You're not too much. You're not in the way. Adults are supposed to make kids feel safe. If they don't do that, that's on them. He blinked fast, and his mouth did that little tremble kids get when they're trying not to cry. Okay, he whispered. After that, he started changing in small ways. He stopped asking before taking the last cookie. He stopped flinching when I sighed, like he thought my frustration meant he'd be punished. He started telling me about his day without filtering it like he expected someone to laugh at him. And I started changing too. I didn't realize how tense I'd been for years until I wasn't. I didn't realize how much of my energy went into managing my mother's moods, smoothing Rachel's messes, trying to prove I deserved a seat at their table. Without that constant pressure, my thoughts felt clearer. My life felt lighter. That's not to say it was easy. Some nights, I'd sit in bed and stare at the ceiling and feel the grief hit, not because I missed them as they were, but because I missed the idea of what they should have been. I missed the mom I wanted, not the mom I had. I missed the sister I kept trying to save. Then the legal part started creeping in, like a shadow. I got a letter in the mail from a bank in Newark. Official-looking envelope. My name printed cleanly at the top. My stomach dropped before I even opened it. It was a notice about an overdue balance. My name, my social, my address, everything was on it. The account had been opened months ago. The charges were big, messy, reckless. Furniture. Electronics. A couple of cash advances. I sat at my table and felt my hands go cold. Noah came in from school and started talking about a science project, and I smiled and nodded, but my mind was racing. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was real. This could ruin me. This could follow me for years. I called the bank. I reported it as fraud. I filled out forms. I froze my credit. I did what I always did, handled it. But this time, I handled it without them. And that felt like power. A week later, my mom showed up at my apartment. I heard the knock and my whole body went stiff. Noah was on the floor playing with Legos. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. There she was, holding a grocery bag like a peace offering, hair perfect, face tight with that "I'm the victim" expression. I didn't open the door right away. I said through it, "What do you want?" She gasped like I'd slapped her. "Open the door. Don't be like this." "No," I said. "Say what you want." Her voice dropped into that low, serious tone she uses when she wants control. "We need to talk like adults." I almost laughed. "You mean like adults who tell kids they're not family?" Silence. Then she said, softer, "I didn't mean it like that." "You said it," I replied. "And nobody fixed it. Not you. Not Rachel. Not anyone." Her voice got sharp again. "So you're punishing us forever?" I leaned my forehead against the door for a second, tired. "I'm protecting my son," I said. "And myself." Then she said the line I knew was coming. "Rachel is in trouble. This is serious. He did terrible things. You can't just abandon your sister." I closed my eyes. "You all abandoned me for years," I said. "You just didn't call it that." I heard her breathe hard, like she was holding in anger. "So what, you're just done? After everything I've done for you?" I opened the door a crack, not enough for her to push in. "Did you come here to apologize to Noah?" I asked. She looked past me into the apartment, toward where Noah was playing. "He's fine," she said quickly. "Kids forget." Noah looked up at the sound of her voice. His face went blank, like a switch flipped. Not excitement. Not comfort. Just caution. That did it. I opened the door a little wider and said, "Clear, don't come back." Her eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Yes," I said. "And if you keep coming here, I'll get a restraining order." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I'd finally become someone she couldn't control. She left the bag on the floor like she wanted to leave proof that she tried. Then she walked away, heels clicking down the hallway, and I shut the door and locked it. Noah didn't say anything. He just went back to his Legos, quiet. I sat beside him and said, "You okay?" He nodded. Then, after a second, he said, "I don't want to go there anymore." I swallowed hard and kissed his cheek. "Me neither," I whispered. Spring came slowly. The snow melted into dirty piles on the sides of the road. People stopped saying, "Happy holidays," and started saying, "Can you believe it's already March?" Life kept moving, like it didn't care who broke your heart. The fraud investigation took time, but I stayed on top of it. I filed reports with the FTC. I made a police report in my town. I sent copies of everything to the bank, over and over, because that's how these systems work. You have to prove you're not lying even when you're the one who got hurt. Then one afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. It was a detective from Essex County. He asked if I could confirm my identity, then told me they were building a case against Adam. Apparently, he didn't just drain Rachel's money. He'd been doing the same thing to other people, opening accounts, forging signatures, moving money around like it was a game. "And your name came up," the detective said. "We have documents. We need a statement." My hands shook a little, not from fear, but from the weight of it. This wasn't just family gossip anymore. This was real justice. Real consequences. I agreed to meet. I left Noah with my neighbor, Mrs. Patel, who always smelled like jasmine tea and treated Noah like he mattered. She squeezed my hand before I walked out and said, "Do what you need to do, sweetheart." I drove to a small office building, sat under fluorescent lights, and told the truth in plain words. I didn't dress it up. I didn't soften it. I said I never authorized anything. I said I didn't know about the accounts until the letters came. I handed over every piece of paperwork I'd collected like armor. When I walked out of that building, the air felt lighter. Not because everything was fixed, but because I'd stopped carrying it alone. Word got back to my family fast. Rachel called me crying, not the performance kind this time, the ugly kind. "He's going to jail," she said, like it was my fault. "He did it," I replied. "Not me." "But Mom says you're doing this to punish us," Rachel sobbed. "She says you're happy about it." I closed my eyes. "Rachel," I said, tired, "I'm not happy. I'm just done saving people who wouldn't save my kid from a sentence." She went quiet. Then she whispered, "I didn't think she meant it." I felt anger flicker, but mostly I felt something else, sadness. "It didn't matter what she meant," I said. "It mattered what she said. And what everyone let happen." After that, the calls slowed. Maybe because they realized I wasn't coming back. Maybe because the legal stuff scared them. Maybe because they finally understood I wasn't bluffing anymore. That summer, I took Noah to a little 4th of July block party on our street. Nothing fancy, hot dogs, cheap fireworks, kids running around with glow sticks. Noah played with a group of kids from school. He laughed so hard he snorted, and nobody teased him for it. I sat in a folding chair with Mrs. Patel and a couple other neighbors, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was sitting among people who didn't need me to earn my spot. Around Thanksgiving, I got one more message from my mom. It was short, like she was trying a new tactic. "I hope you're happy." I stared at it for a while, then set my phone down without answering. Because the truth was complicated. I wasn't happy like she meant. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't partying because my family fell apart. But I was peaceful. That Christmas, Noah and I made our own dinner. We wore pajama pants. We played music loud. We made a cheesy snowman cake from a box mix, and it came out lopsided and perfect. Noah got frosting on his nose and laughed, and I laughed too. When it was time for dessert, I put the cake on the table and slid a plate to Noah first. "Your turn," I said. He looked at me, hesitated for half a second like his body still remembered the old rules, then he grabbed a big slice and smiled. "Can I have more if I want?" he asked, half joking. "As much as you want," I said. "This is your home." He took a bite, eyes closing like it tasted better than it should've. Then he said, casual, like it was nothing, we're family, right? I swallowed hard and nodded. Yeah, I whispered. We are. And in that moment, I understood something I wish I'd learned sooner. Family isn't who shares your last name. It's who makes sure your kid never has to ask if he belongs at the table.